I'm going to hold up this first one here.
Okay, it's a triangle, green triangle. It says green at the top. It has a red border. It says triangle at the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah. What about, oops, is that right?
It's upside down. It says square, and it says the word white at the top. It's kind of outlined, and then it has an outline of a square. Square's white.
Wild. And then one more here. Let me see if it'll
And it
focus.
says triangle, but yeah, then there's a little triangle, and it also says white at the top with the outline.
That's wild. And what if I told you that everything you know is just the beginning? Beyond the veil of the ordinary lies a realm of hidden knowledge, ancient wisdom, and untapped potential. A place where consciousness expands, reality bends, and the impossible becomes possible. You weren't meant to stay asleep. You were meant to awaken. Open your mind, remember who you truly are, and step with me beyond the frequency 369. Hey, before we start the episode, if you're on YouTube or Rumble, like, subscribe, and hit that bell. You want to make a comment? Go for it. It's America. If you catch me on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, hit me with those 5 stars. I appreciate the support. Let's start the show. Welcome back to Beyond the Frequency 369, where we go beyond what we've been told and tap into the hidden potential of the mind. Today, we're talking about something that sounds straight out of a science fiction. The ability to see without using your eyes. But here's the thing, it's real. My guest, Rob Freeman, is the founder of Vision Without Eyes, where he teaches people how to unlock what's known as MINDSIGHT, a skill that lets you perceive the world without physical sight. And with him is a student who can actually see while blindfolded. So how does this work? What does it tell us about consciousness? And what else might we be capable of? Let's get into it. Rob and Nikki, welcome to the show. How are you guys?
Great, and thanks for having us, Cesar.
Fantastic. So let's start with some quick introductions. So Rob, if you'll start off first, tell us, for those that don't know who you are already, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then we'll turn that over to Nikki as well before we start the conversation.
Sure, I'm retired. I've done a few things in my life. I started off as a real estate broker, and of course, that was great. And from there, I founded a company called London Telecom. And just like in the States, we brought in competition for phones. So that was quite successful. I was one of the large telecom companies here in Canada. And from there, founded a pharma company, or co-founded a pharma company, Q Biologics. And it's working with cancer treatments, Crohn's treatments, things with the immune system. And of course, my passion are these two things, seeing without eyes, and of course, UFOs, UAPs, and all that kind of thing. So we can get into that a little bit later. And it was through that passion that I found out about seeing without eyes.
I love it. Thanks, Rob. And Nikki?
Well, I'm Rob's student, but also I'm an energy wellness practitioner. Western medicine failed me about 30 years ago. And so I started on a path to see the level of human potential for self-healing. So I have clients that I help get their physical wellness back, and also counsel them to increase their psychic abilities, because those two things really go hand in hand. I have several clients with macular degeneration, which is what led me to Rob's seminar, because I felt like this would help them feel more comfortable with their situation, because, stress really impacts your physical health. And even though we're getting some good results reversing their degeneration, they're still terrified about losing their sight. But with this, you don't need to have that fear, because you'll always be able to see.
Love that. I love that. Thank you guys for that. And so let's go straight into some questions. Rob, I'm going to ask you first here. How did you first discover or become involved in training people how to see blindfolded, out of all things?
Sure. So as I mentioned, my other passion is UFOs and so on. As a kid, I had an experience here in Canada, in Sarnia, Ontario. Won't get into that too much, but it was written up in the paper the next day. Over 200 people witnessed this object that was flying right over the St. Clair River between Canada and the United States. And it was part of a big, huge flap. And people can do all the research around that, around Detroit and the girls' school that saw one land and all this stuff. But I saw it and I kind of interacted with it, and it was in the paper the next day, and over 200 people in our town of Sarnia saw it. And so I never worried about talking about it. Many people are nervous about that subject. Oh, I don't want to be called a crazy and all that. But my experience was validated by, the newspaper and 200 people, including policemen and very high ranking officials on the US side at the Air Force Base. So I never worried. So many years later, I had a friend, we were doing movies together, and we actually did one right here at my house. And during the break, people talk about all kinds of things. When the actors are making themselves up and practicing lines, everybody else is standing around. And of course, what do you talk about? Well, friends, family, work, just any subject that comes up. And my friend, the movie guy, just asked the question, has anybody seen a UFO? So, I spoke and told about my experience. He didn't say anything, but he went away and started doing research. And, the crazy thing was my second experience had happened 2 weeks later when I was a kid. We went on the roof of my house to specifically see them, my friend and I, and we did. Okay. So he believed there was a connection, that somehow we called them in, made a connection. So he did all this research. He came back to me a few months later and he said, Rob, I got a proposal for you. Be careful when somebody says that. And he said, we're going to travel around the world and we're going to make contact. I said, with who? He says, ETs. I said, really? He said, that experience you had when you were a kid. The second one, he says, I and hundreds of other people around the world that I've talked to believe that you and your friend called them in. And I said, I don't believe that. And he says, well, will you keep an open mind? I said, well, maybe. He said, we're going to go around the world. We're going to interview people. We're going to make contact. Anyway, fast forward, we did. We've been doing this for the last 10 years. This is my other passion. And we met a lady in Australia her name is Leonie Appel. And we spent time with her and her family in Australia, and we witnessed and experienced some incredible things. And, we were there for about 3 weeks. And when we got back, that was 2 or 3 days later, I received this text from her, and it included a video of her grandkids running around the backyard, playing hide and go seek, playing with toy guns, Nerf guns, blindfolded. And I thought, is this a joke? Leonie was really a joking person and, had a great sense of humor. So I thought, oh, she's just making a joke. There were no words with the video, just the video came in the text and that was it. So this video went on for like 3 minutes. And I thought, well, if it's a joke, who would spend 3 minutes making a joke to send over a text? That didn't seem right to me. So I wrote her back and I said, Leonie, is this a joke or is this real? Because if it's real, I want to do it. And the rest is history. And it was real. And she had been teaching her grandkids to do this for several years. And even on her own property, they live out in a rural area. Her one grandson he was driving the family car on private property, blindfolded. So, we learned how to do it. And I actually spent time with many teachers. I think about 9 or 10 teachers. I've spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours practicing this and learning. And so over this period of time, we've discovered little techniques, very subtle techniques that work. And, in the last year, we've been running seminars, and we've got I met Nikki at the most recent seminar in Orlando, and she opened right up big time. And I said to myself, man, I want Nikki demonstrating at my next seminar. So we usually have 2 or 3 people that can demonstrate, that can do this at every seminar. And so we've got another seminar coming up, seminar workshop here in London, Ontario, May 4th to 9th. And, if anybody is interested in that, of course, there's a website, visionwithouteyes.com. But that's how I got involved with it. And it's a fascinating story. I taught my niece. When people come over, everybody wants to try it, right at this table where I'm sitting typically. And
The famous table.
yeah, and it's not hard. Now, there's 2 levels to it, Cesar. There's the first intuitive level. And when you put the mask on, you just, need to get very relaxed. And there's, certain things I say, it's not rocket science, but it's just getting the person comfortable and getting them out of their left brain. That thinking, rational, ego-based, intelligent side where we kind of live most of the time. Getting them out of that and moving them more into the right brain. When you can do that, they have their mask on. And every single person that I've ever met, within an hour, I can get them seeing, with a blindfold on. Now, not the full time, a real time, seeing the room mind sight. This is the intuitive level mind sight where, if I was to hold up a colored card, you see a very faint haze of the color. If I was to hold up, for example, symbols, you might get a part of the shape, like you might see a little crescent of the circle, and you'd say, that's got to be the open circle. And it is. Pictures, you might see a vague shape of the picture, a little bit of color. So that's the first level. And everybody can do that within the first hour. It's not hard. Then you got to move people to the seeing the room in real time mindset, which is what Nikki does. And that's where the fun really begins.
I love all of that. There was so much to break down on that, but we'll get into it too. And I also, I want to go ahead and probably even pre-book you for a one-on-one show to talk about your UFO experiences, because that is interesting as well. So before I make my comment based off of what you just explained to us, Rob, Nikki, I want to give you the same opportunity. What got you into, out of any hobby, any passion that you could have done, why did you want to see without your eyes?
My background is in energetic healing and human potential. So it dovetails right into that. And, of course, I had clients that I wanted to help. But this to me is not only super important for people that are losing their sight, have lost their sight, are blind, but also for just the average person to show them what their abilities are. We all have this ability. I 100% believe that every single person can do this. And if you can do this, it's the gateway drug to the next step for everything. And even me, I've been practicing energetic things for a long, long time, but ever since Rob's seminar, stuff is happening for me that I never would have imagined. And it's all down to that seminar. It all started there.
Love it. I'm excited for you, and I'm excited for people that are listening to this now and that will be listening to this later, and everyone that has seen a lot of your interviews as well, Rob, because this is a gateway, like you said, Nikki. It definitely makes you question, if I can do this, what else can I do, right? And Rob, so for those that are, because there's always skeptics, right? There's always going to be skeptics. For those that are skeptics, even listening to this podcast here, is there a science or a philosophy behind this ability that you're aware of or that you've learned?
Well, pardon me. I would say that, humans have been doing this since day one. And there's different groups that are connected back to some of the ancient practices, and they feel that you have to do that to get to this. That's only because of the string of ownership all the way through. When we first started doing this, I went and was taught by a lady in Ottawa to start with, and she didn't teach adults. She didn't believe adults could do it. And at that time, most people didn't think adults could do it. This is like 7-8 years ago. They thought it's only something children can do it. And when you reach puberty, you're going to probably lose it and all those kind of things. We wanted it bad. And I didn't accept that. When somebody says no, for me, that means go. Okay.
Love it.
So,
I love it.
I wanted to do it. I thought, why do you have to be a child? So we practiced. Even that first weekend when I went there, I think I saw one color and that was it. But we practiced, we got with people, and it started to open up. And here's the crazy thing, pardon me, when we started into this intuitive level, we bumped into many other abilities also. But we found that you don't have to do any of these so-called ancient practices. So there's really, many people will put spirituality to it. They'll put religion to it. They'll put martial arts to it. Some of them will put a lot of money to it.
Yeah.
And I just threw all of that out and said, well, I'm a human being. I know that I'm born with this ability. It's a God-given ability and a God-given right. So we just kind of muscled through. We experimented. It was kind of like Edison, he wanted to invent the light bulb. And he went through 2,000 different things before he discovered how to make the light bulb. And of course, now, we have LED light bulbs and everything. But we did the same thing with this. We tried so many things, and all of a sudden we started seeing. And I remember the one point where I just wasn't getting it. It was my friend Wendy. I started with her, and she said something funny. She made a joke that just hit my funny bone, and I started laughing and laughing, and she started showing me the colors, the shapes. I was getting everything. And so at that moment, we discovered humor seems to connect you to your mindset. And she was literally rolling on the floor laughing, and I was too, and we had tears in our eyes, but it just got better and better and better and better. Everything she showed me. We finally had to just stop because we were in hysterical laughter. Our faces were wet with tears. And it's like, stop. But we discovered that was just one of the many ways that you can access your mindset. So don't come at it from a sort of spiritual, religious basis. It's scientifically and psychologically. That's all it is. And you're just finding very simple ways to get yourself into your right brain, which, how many times have we heard, you don't use 90% of your brain? Oh, that 90% of your brain is your right side. And if you can, do anything. You mentioned at the beginning of the podcast about being in gratitude. That's another way. For example, in the seminar, sometimes we'll have people go around the room and just write on a card, pick somebody and say something kind about them that you've noticed, a compliment. And then we hand it to that person. It's anonymous, and ask them to read it. Okay. So not only is the person writing the compliment, accessing their heart, they're accessing their right brain when they find something nice or a compliment to say about somebody. You're reaching down into your human side. And then when the person who's reading it, they read that, and sometimes there's tears. And, it's like, oh my goodness, somebody else noticed something about me, or you're so kind, and it just stops them in their tracks. Well, the other benefit is it connects you to that intuitive mindset level in your right brain. Boom, big time, instantly. And so those are some of the things that we do to get people into the right brain so they can start by opening up their intuitive level mindset. And of course, you're dealing with people's belief systems. You're dealing with people's experience. We all see things in life through our experiences of life and what we believe in, how we were raised, what our folks taught us, what we learned from our peers, our friends at school. And so some people are harder nuts to crack. Other folks like Nikki, she's already involved in, related things. So she just opened right up and was seeing everything. I mean, after the seminar was over, Nikki wore her blindfold for the whole day and with patches underneath, Cesar. And she navigated through the airport, through security, through, checking in, walking. And maybe, Nikki, you can tell about your experience there.
Yeah, it was crazy. I checked my bags at the Southwest counter. And the lady's like, "Are you blind?" And I was like, "No." And I explained stuff to her, and she's like, "That's crazy." Everybody was wearing my mask. So I would give my mask to people because they'd be like, "What are you seeing there? Is it virtual reality?" And they put it on. They're like, "How are you seeing through this?" Got to my flight, made a connecting flight in Dallas. And so I had some downtime there. And then it was like 7.5 hours of travel. I had the mask on the whole time. I actually read my Kindle as I was sitting on the plane. I had to have it real big. Full disclosure, I had to have the type real big, but I could read it. And then I got to my destination, got my bags off the carousel so could identify my baggage and get them. And I met my ride and loaded my luggage all blindfolded. And but I will say at the end of the day, I was so tired. My windows, because we have these little windows to see through, they got really, really small. And I was like, oh, please just stay open enough for me to complete this trip because I wanted to do the whole thing blindfolded.
And
believe it.
And she had patches on.
And you had I've seen those. I've seen this on some of your videos. They're just like they stuck to your eye, right?
Yeah, they're and I full disclosure, I had to take those off at lunchtime because they were they were just driving me crazy around but I made it halfway through with those, and then I took them off because they were bugging my skin. But yeah, those seal all the way around your eyes. They're like a full cotton thing that totally, yeah.
Yeah. I've seen that, and first of all, incredible. Just navigating through the airport, even with your physical eyes, is still a pain for the average person. So to see it, to do it blindly. Let me go back on a couple of things here. Rob, you mentioned that humor was a catalyst, a trigger to allow you to start opening up. As you were saying that, I was thinking, is this why they say that children learn how to do this a lot faster than adults, because they're always playing. They're always they don't have that that left side of the brain going on, firing off all the time. Where as for the adults, like, let me see if I can do this. But then they have all this judgment and heaviness. Is that, have you been using that technique a lot more with everybody, even older folks, just to laugh?
Yeah, it's true. Children are playful, and they are at the very worst right in the middle between two sides. But really, much of the time, they're totally in the right brain. I mean, they're in the moment. They're just being so creative, fun, and there's no logic or reasoning there of the left brain. They're connected 100%. Now, it's my understanding once you reach puberty, you shift more into your left brain. I remember watching my own son, Mark, when he was a little boy. He had quite a sense of humor. And, he would always find the funny side of everything. Even, we were watching Turner Classic movies together as a family, and, they're in black and white, many of them. And after the movie was over, he said to me, "Dad, did everything used to be in black and white?" And I said,
Like
"Well,
the world?
what do you mean, Mark?" He said, "Well, if you went outside and looked out, was everything in black and white?" And I said, "Well, that's interesting you say that, Mark. Everything was always in color. It's just that these movies were in black and white." And he was laughing, and, he had a sense of humor. But I remember when he reached puberty, he got very serious and about the world. And I always missed his sense of humor, but he still has it, of course, and it comes out. So it's true. Children are in the right brain totally. And that's why it's so easy for them. And I would even encourage folks that are watching or listening to this, just throw a blindfold on your child and say, "Honey, you can see without your eyes. You can see through this blindfold. Just let it happen." And in many cases, it will happen spontaneously, especially if the child is young. They'll just do it. And Cesar, even, you likely did this as a child yourself. Many children at the age of 2, probably, you go out to your folks in the kitchen and you would have put your hands over your eyes and said, "Mommy, I can see you without my eye." You would have done that. Good chance. And for you, you would have accepted it as normal. It's just, I can do it. And likely, unfortunately, your parents may have says, "Oh, Cesar, sweetheart, honey, that's not real. That's make believe." And they, inadvertently and unfortunately shut it down. And as a little child, it's important that parents want to teach their children what is real and what's make believe. And so, they want to get them so they can navigate through life properly. And so if you were then convinced as a little boy that this is just part of your make believe, then, you would have shut it down. So now we are dealing with that as older adults. We have to get them to reconnect to that and open it up. But it's true. Most children can do this. And especially if they're young, they can do it in minutes. Some, they can just put their mask on and see. You don't even have to tell them. And they'll even tell you, "Oh, Mommy, I've been doing this. I've always been able to do this." And they just never told their parents. So it is harder for adults, but not impossible. You just got to start, peeling those onion layers off. You can peel them off. You can cut them. You can drill through them. There's many different ways. Humor is a big one. And we get everybody just having fun, being silly. We do a lot of exercises that, you would do as a child, and reconnecting with that inner child that you still have. So that little boy, that little girl, you just got to find a way back and reconnect with him or her. When you can and when you do, you're also in the area where your mind sight is, and it will open. And then we take them to the next level of actually seeing in real time. where, Nikki is describing going around the airport. And it starts out as a very tiny window. There's different ways it can start out. This is the most common. And that window will get bigger. You may have other little windows that open, and they can become like Swiss cheese. They will grow. They can grow together. So you might have a oblong one sitting at an angle. And in many cases, and this is where the skeptics have problem. I'm just working with one on YouTube right now. And in many cases, the seeing will start at this angle. Okay. For many people, my niece, a lot of people that I've taught, it starts out. So when you're seeing, you have to lift your head up, and many people will think that you're peeking under the mask. Now you're not. Okay. You can lift your mask up and see, but your mind sight has come open, and it's come open in that spot first. Okay. Not for everybody, but for many people. So the skeptics jump on that and say, oh, she's looking under the mask, right? So, other windows will open. For example, Claudia, my student who's also, she's a demonstrator. She has that condition. I don't know how to say it right, but it's retinitis pigmentosa or something like that, RP. And we had a few people at the seminar with the same condition who were actually blind from it. Claudia sees through with her normal eyesight. It's like a window like this. She can't see anything in her peripheral. She has to be careful when she's walking to keep moving her head around to see if something might be in her path. And she's seeing straight in front. That's with her normal eyes. Okay. Now, in her case, that window is closing. So she may eventually go blind that's it. So that's why she has learned to do this. But how she knew it was real for her, because it looks almost the same as regular vision, how she knew it was real for her, she had windows open here on the sides. And so she says, Rob, she's trying to convince me. It's like, well, I know she's seeing, but in a way she's trying to convince herself, but, or confirm to herself that she's seeing. But it's like, Rob, it's impossible. My visual seeing with my normal eyes is like this, looking through a tunnel. Like, it's a big tunnel at the moment, but I have to turn my head. But with the mind sight, I can see off at these angles. Like, I can turn my head, and if it was me, see the screen right now, either side. So she says, I know 100% this is my mind sight. It's real. I can't see in those areas with my regular eyesight. I don't have peripheral vision. I can only see straight ahead. So it's real. The skeptics, I would encourage them to just get involved, come to a seminar. Like I have had some that, I've offered to even teach them and give them a free session. Now, I'm pretty busy these days, but I've done that, and in the first hour, they're getting it. And, their mind plays tricks with them. For some people, it's hard to accept, and you'll find any little reason why, oh, I must be cheating. We've had people in the seminars. I had one lady from Brazil. She called Wendy and I over, and she says, I want a new mask. And she was very demanding. She says, I want a new mask. My mask is broken. And we were kind of laughing, and not at her, but with her, really. She was serious. She wanted a new mask. And we're like tapping the mask. We said, there's no hole in it. She said, well, but yes, there is. It's broken somehow. I want a new mask. I said, every mask is going to be the same. You're going to think there's a hole in every mask. And then she realized, she had that epiphany right at that moment. Oh my goodness, I am seeing with my mind sight.
Well, she thought there was a hole in it because she was seeing.
Convinced she was looking through some kind of a small hole in the mask, and her mask was broken, and wanted a new mask. But no, if I give you a new mask, it will be the same. So, and I've had other people who have convinced themselves on YouTube. They say, no, every mask I buy from Mindfold is defective. I can see through there's one spot I can see through it. And I said,
good.
I hate to tell you this, but you are seeing with your advanced level, seeing the room mind sight. But their mind is so locked that even though it's operating, they will not believe it.
Right. Because it's not something that it's not a mainstream thing that we are accustomed to believe, just like when it's like for kids that grow up believing in Santa Claus until they're told by their parents there is no Santa Claus. And then now they start questioning that because their parents are the source of truth. Now their parents are like, no. So it goes in reverse. So like you said, if you have a parent that tells a child, put on a blindfold because you can see through it. Again, well, my parents wouldn't tell me that if I couldn't do it. So it works both ways, and that's a beautiful thing to consider. And it also emphasizes on the power of your words, and your influence, right? Nikki, I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned about during the airport experience, your windows were getting a little tired, right? So I kind of want to have a little bit of understanding if you can explain, why do you think your windows get tired? And for those that are listening and viewing this, they're probably thinking, what does that experience even feel like? So can you add some description of what is it that you're feeling when you're behind this mask? What are you seeing? Anything that you can help the audience visualize that moment.
So here's the mask. So first let's look, and I'll put it on and I'll show you where my windows are. So I have windows like right here. I have one over here. I have these down here, but I don't really use them. So like right now, if you hold up some fingers, Cesar.
And Nikki,
3.
also, what word have I got up, Nikki?
Help.
Wait a minute. Wait. As soon as you put on the mask, you just opened up?
Yeah, well, no, I did practice that one because a lot of times it takes people some time.
Okay. Yeah.
To open their windows, but I knew I had to go through security, and I knew they were going to make me take off that mask, and I didn't want to be standing there saying, wait, give me 30 seconds so that I can see again. So what I had done, I had one day in between the seminar and my travel, and I just put the mask on the counter. Every time I walked by, I'd put it on and go see. And the minute I'd open my eyes, I'd expect to see, and I did. So now, as soon as I put this mask down, I can see, and it just for the skeptics out there now, do you have anything that you want me to read? Do you have anything on your desk that you can hold?
I'll let Rob do that because he's got better tools than I do. I mean, I can hold up stuff on my desk. Well,
give me a hard one, Rob. Come on.
Well, okay. What color dice and how many?
It's a red dice with 4 dots.
There you go. Okay. And
just like that.
playing cards. Let me
playing cards.
Playing cards. Let's pick one from the middle.
It's the 2 of clubs.
Well done. How about we make?
And can you even see us? Are you seeing us too?
Yeah, I can see you. You're waving your hand like this. Yeah.
You
leaned back and laughed. Yeah.
Here's a book that was written years ago on the subject of mindset. I'll just open something randomly.
Okay.
And Nikki, can you read any of that?
You got to get it closer to the screen. It's really blurry.
Yeah, it's a little blurry.
Blurry. You know what? If you'll bear with me, I can grab a book real quick and just open it up.
Yeah. By all means. That's wild. So she said something, Rob. She says that she put on the mask, and I forgot what word she used. That she expects to see. So let me ask you something, Rob, as the instructor here. It sounds like intention is a big part of this.
It is. It is your intention. And, just like anything else in life, you set the intention, and your right brain, all the power of your right brain can get aligned and line up with that intention. You can even say things like, you put it out to the universe. Well, part of it probably is the universe, but in this case with MINDSIGHT, when you set the intention you want to do this, you are enlisting all the power of your right brain. And it is like a supercomputer. I can tell you real quick, when I was teaching Claudia to open her MINDSIGHT, I had an object here in the room, and I just grabbed it, and I had it out of sight of the computer. And I said, Claudia, can you see that? Because, remote viewing is really connected with this as well. She wasn't getting it. And I just looked at the item, and it still had the UPC symbol on it. And, it was from the dollar store. And I said to Claudia, Claudia, your right brain can literally do anything. I said, I'm going to read you the UPC number, and I want you to go to now it's Dollarama where the store came from, dollar store. And I said, I want you to go to their computer system over the internet, through your MINDSIGHT, and go and see what number in their inventory this item is. And she immediately blurted out, well, it's a candle holder. And I said, lift your mask up. And I showed her it was a candle holder. Now, what were the chances of her getting that? Okay.
It's astronomical. Wait. I want to, and I'm apologize for interrupting, but I'm processing what you just said. So she remote viewed based off of you gave her a, what do they call it? A target. And she went ahead and went to a place that she's never been before and follow your instructions pretty much, and then brought back that information. That's what we're talking about here.
You got it. And that's the kind of things you can do at the intuitive level. That's kind of what Nikki's talking about. When we teach people to open up your intuitive level mindset, the sky's the limit at that level. And we use that, of course, to go to the advanced level, seeing the room mindset. And some people may say, well, now that I can see the room, I don't care about the intuitive level. Use that, because that's one of the things that, you could do. And Claudia did. Now some people may argue she used her intuitive level to read your mind. Maybe she did. Maybe
either way, that's still cool.
Pardon me. Maybe it was telepathy. Who knows? Who cares? All I know is, we use that intuitive level as a stepping stone to reach the other level. And if people want to, after, follow their heart on all this intuitive level stuff, go for it. I mean, we're going to bump into many of those things when you attend a seminar at the intuitive level. But, Nikki can tell you all about that stuff.
Nikki, talk to us. What do you got for us?
Let me read you a passage. So
Please.
This is a really pretty
Oh, and Nikki, before you start, can you take off the mask and then kind of towards your camera, show us what's on the inside of that mask?
Yeah, sure.
So that way,
It's really...
All right, so it's definitely, all right, yeah, is that a plastic in front of the styrofoam or whatever? Okay. Yeah, you can't see through that. And then that little soft part is like a styrofoam. Is that what that is?
It's a softer foam, but yeah.
Just for your eyes. That way it doesn't, okay.
Your face. So
and cover the camera with the mask. Let's see how dark it gets. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's black.
Yeah. I've had
no holes in it. All right. So we cleared that up. For those of you that are listening, what Nikki just did was she put the mask and pretty much covered her camera with it. It's pitch dark. Okay, we had no video. And those of you that are watching, you obviously saw that. So Nikki, I'm good. Let's go. Go for it.
Right. So I'm just going to wing through here and randomly pick a page. And this is really small type. Can you see this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Directions, instructions. Yeah.
And by the way, I'm old, so I need reading glasses typically. But I'm going to read this, and let's see which window is best for me. I think this one is good. I say
that. How many windows do you have?
Right now, I've got this one is pretty good. I've got one over here. I've got two down here. I've got this one up here, though. That's not going to help me very much with this.
And just to make sure, Nikki, for those that are, again, not seeing the video of this episode, tell us again in descriptive where your windows are. They're above your...
Yeah, it's two. I've got one on the left and one on the right side. And then actually I've got kind of like two U-shaped ones at the bottom that have joined together. And I'm working on clearing this spot in the mask, this center spot. So that used to be dark, completely dark, solid, and now it's got like holes in it. It's not good enough that I can see through it yet, but it is enough that I can somewhat negotiate. So anyway,
and she was pointing towards like kind of like where the third eye would be. She was pointing towards that, so she's kind of seeing like a honeycomb maybe right now before she gets it a lot bigger. So she's got a book in her hand. She's gonna read something from the book. So go for it, Nikki.
It's the primary objective of the following meditation is to balance the client's chakras, cleanse the body of pathologic factors, and then can't make out a couple big word, environmental and celestial chi into the various internal organs.
Geez, that's a lot of big words to be seeing without your eyes.
And I need reading glasses to read.
Yeah, let me ask about that because you mentioned that. So, okay, obviously we need reading glasses like I guess Rob has and everything, and like you have, but that's for our physical eyes. That's to help these physical or organs see. So with your mind sight, there is no prescription.
No.
We're just dealing with just like windows being small or big, right?
And you can zoom in to things, like you can see far things up close by asking your sight to zoom in on it. And like
Really?
for this, like, and this happened at the seminar. I was reading, my partner gave me this really tiny thing to read, and I read it through the mask without realizing, wait a second, when he showed me the size of the type, it was like really, I thought, I can't read that. I took off my mask and I couldn't read it. But I could read it with my mask on. And then Rob explained, well, that's because you can do anything. You can just ask for it to do what you need it to do.
Yeah. That is wild. That is wild. It goes back to like what you just said that Rob told you. Once you get into that intuitive state, you are in command. You are in control of what happens from there.
So Rob's seminar, like this, I have all the modalities. You pick a modality, I can do it. I've been to everything. This was the number one. And, look how many years I've been doing this, 30 years. This is the best seminar I have ever attended. It is the most magical experience. I mean, it truly is. His system of teaching it's not only like, it's so much fun. It's so much fun. And the things that come from it, like now, not ready for prime time yet, but hopefully by the next seminar, I'm seeing with my hand. So I did a video for Rob where I had patches, the mask, and I pulled a beanie down over my head. I had these cards. I had 3 of them, 3 shapes. And I was like, I'm going to find, my husband had messed them around. And I said, I'm going to find the solid circle. And I could see the circle. I could see it through the back of the card. So I'm using my hands to see. You can get your sight to go anywhere.
Anywhere in your body.
Yeah, anywhere. You can see
Wow.
with anything, the top of your head, colors behind your head. Like the other demonstrators, oh my gosh, Claudia, Dahlia, Danny, oh my gosh, they blow me out of the water with the stuff they can do. Danny's seeing the microwave behind her head without turning around with patches, mask, everything.
Oh, the microwaves, you mean the frequency or the
Behind her,
actual?
yeah, like Rob asked her at the seminar, hey, what's on the microwave? She's got patches, she's got mask, and she's turned away from the microwave. And she's like, it's 524.
The actual microwave.
Yes,
Okay.
the time
Wow.
on the microwave. Yes. And, and Dahlia, the same thing. She was in Rob was in a closet holding up fingers, and Dahlia could say how many fingers he was holding up.
How does it now in that moment as she's looking at Rob through the closet holding up the fingers? Is it like an X-ray vision or?
So for me, of course I went home and I started practicing all this stuff, and I went right into the closet with my mask on. And I had, my eyes closed, and I had a shape on the other side, painter tape to the other side of the door. So it was on the other side of the closet door. And yeah, for me, it looked like it either goes night vision goggles for me, so green, or it goes like infrared. So like a red kind of, but I could see the card and I could see the shape on it. So I could see with my eyes closed and the mask in the pitch dark through the door to the shape.
That is just wild. I have some like picture color cards in my closet. Give me a second. Let me see if I can, because here's what it is. Like a skeptic, right? Could be like, oh, well, Rob and Nikki talked about, I'm going to hold up this first and I'm going to hold up this, things like that. So let me see on my end. 1 second. All right. We are back. So yeah. So I have like these kind, right? Like little kids color card.
Red borders. You got a red square on the back of that one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I'm all giggling like a little schoolgirl. That's awesome right now. All right, I'm gonna show you 3 and try to make them like, hard ones, I guess. And then I just want you to tell me everything that you see on that card. I'm just super curious now. All right. Yeah, let's try this. Okay. I'm going to hold up this first one here.
Okay, it's a triangle, green triangle. It says green at the top. It has a red border. It says triangle at the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah. What about, is that right?
It's upside down. Yeah. It says square, and it says the word white at the top. It's kind of outlined, and then it has an outline of a square. Square's white.
Wild. And then one more here. Let me see if it'll
focus. It says triangle, but yeah, then there's a little triangle, and it also says white at the top with the outline.
That's wild. And I'm wondering, because Rob mentioned something about holding something out of the camera. Are you able to, like, if I hold something out of the camera, are you there yet?
I'm not right. Well, you know what? if I'm not under pressure, like I'm 100%.
Yeah.
But the minute I get around someone, and that's my thing. I just talked to Rob about. I'm like, okay, so at the seminar, I'm going to practice in front of people before I get there so that I'm cool with it. Cause like even this morning, okay, the next thing that has happened for me, Rob doesn't even know this, but my husband and I were just messing around this morning with this kind of MINDSIGHT stuff, even though he doesn't do it, he helps me practice. And I said, hey, there's a lot of things that this MINDSIGHT can help you do. And I've never been telepathic. I don't have telepathy. And I said, but why don't you think of a historic figure, anybody in history, and let me see if I can get it. And he goes, okay, I got one. And I was like, I'm getting like white wigs. And he's like, maybe. And I was like, is it a French guy? And he goes, yeah. And I said, Napoleon. He goes, yes. So I read his mind this morning. And
Congratulations.
yeah, but I'm telling you, it all comes from that seminar. That seminar did something to me.
Game changer. Game changer.
Game changing. And it's like being able to see through a door and being able to choose colors with all of these things over your head and the intuitive stuff that these guys can do. Oh my gosh, our students in the class that are blind, and at our last practice, one of them said, hey, we want to do some remote viewing, put something on the couch in Rob's room. Rob does. And one of our blind students says, do you have a stain on one of your couch cushions on the left side? And Rob's like, yes. And he's blind. This student is blind. And he could see that.
Let's talk about that, because I wanted to ask, first, Rob, I want to ask you here, is that the goal? Is that the goal, to help blind people see?
It really is. That's where it's all leading to. Because, every one of us in the world would really like the idea of that blind people could get their vision back again, or if they've never been able to see, to be able to see. One of the fellows that was at our seminar, John, he was born blind, and he is now, his sight is coming through. Like he can see the edges of things. He's getting letters. He doesn't even know what letters are. He, learned Braille. So basically, when I hold up a letter, and the X that I'm holding in the screen now, he can't say X, but he has all of the letters by feel. And he'll say, Rob, is it this one? And he has picked the X from his, it's a children's game, right? With solid letters. He holds it up and say, yes, that's what I'm holding up. That is an X, John. So
that is,
he's starting to learn the actual Roman alphabet that he was never taught. Okay. And he doesn't know colors. So he has no idea what those are. He sees them as different energies, sort of thing.
Energies,
and
okay.
He does the same thing. Like, for example, if I hold up a color, like pink, I'm holding up pink. He now knows that that's pink, but he will grab the same color and say, hey, Rob, is it this color?
Is it this color? Yeah.
So he's learning colors and letters, which he was never taught as a blind person. And he's able to see them now. So my long range goal and vision here is to have a school right at the farm here where blind people come, people with vision issues come, and they learn to see.
That warms my heart so much, Rob, because I'm gonna stay strong here. I got a little emotional. I don't have anybody with those, fortunately with those issues, but I resonate with what you're trying to do. What a beautiful thing. What a beautiful thing. Thank you for that. And it's just amazing. I just lost my words, because that is such a, how I've always thought about, how do you describe the color blue to a blind man?
What you do, Cesar, is you take them outside. And once they start seeing at the intuitive level, they get different shades of what we would call gray, maybe, or they feel different energies. It comes to them in different ways, but you could say to them on a clear day, you could say, okay, look up. And what do you feel? Do you sense an energy? What are you picking up? And you would say to them, that is the color blue. Okay, and as their MINDSIGHT, as they're seeing the room, MINDSIGHT starts to open, you could say, well, do you see these sort of patches of things when you look up? And what color is that? Or what energy is that? They say, yeah, that looks different. Well, those are clouds and they're white. That is the color white, which is the sum total of all colors. Oh, really? Yes. And okay, look down at your feet and you're sensing a different energy. And yeah, it looks different. Well, that is green. That is the grass. And that's what we would call green. So you have to start them right from square one as if they were a little toddler who's learning colors. But they
Damn.
can do it and they will see.
Yeah, and Nikki, please.
For the skeptics, when the blind people are seeing, there's no question that they're seeing.
Right.
John was blind from birth, and the two ladies in our seminar, actually, there's several people with impairment and blindness. I mean, they are doing amazing things from this seminar, and there's no doubt they're not peeking through the mask because they don't have sight.
They don't need a mask.
Yeah.
And it's funny, Cesar, they don't need a mask, but they put it on anyway, just for fun. You know,
Okay.
it's almost
I love that. I love the humor behind that, just for fun. You know, like I need a. Oh man, that's amazing. I love it. I love it because it definitely brings a chuckle. You know, behind that, like it's like a deaf person putting on construction grade earphones for noise cancellation. Is like, okay, that's hilarious. You know.
yeah, and it's funny you talk about that, Cesar, about deaf people. You can get deaf people to hear with disability also.
Talk to me about that, Robert.